I think it's such a amazing, beautiful, wonderful gift when someone creates something where you can detect that. You can detect that they're trying to figure something out, or they're trying to work through something through their art.
So, I record an episode on Tuesday with a kid from the program.
Nice.
And we spent 2 hours working on the audio. And it's because we found it out last time. My first 6 episodes, I was using a camera that was busted.
Oh.
So it was just using the camera audio.
Oh.
And even though I was plugging in the microphones, it wasn't working.
Yeah.
So luckily now I feel like I have the audio. That's and good. Everything set up. Finally.
That's good.
It's a huge learning curve trying to figure out all this equipment and everything for the first time.
Yeah, boy, I've been there.
But it's been good. I've learned a lot in the last couple of weeks.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Thank you, Avery, so much for making it out.
Of course.
So we are from the same ward back home. We both grew up in Northern Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So I've known you for a while, and just really good family friends, I would say, and Wyatt's one of my closest friends growing up for sure.
Yeah.
Your younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I appreciate you coming out and making the time. I'm excited to have this conversation and get to learn from you.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And you sent, because I always have the people being interviewed send a bio to just build questions and figure out what they would want to talk about. And you sent the best bio I've ever received from anyone.
Sweet. Well, that's good.
So much information, things to talk about. So I'm really looking forward to talking about it.
Right on.
So I guess we'll just start, how did you end up here at BYU and then in the film program?
I ended up at BYU just because my parents went here, grandparents went here. I just kind of always knew that I wanted to come here as well. It just always felt like the right option and the right decision. And I ended up in the film program because I just narrowed it down all the majors I was interested in. I applied to BYU as a biology major, and then I was like, maybe I want to go to law school. And then I was like, well, maybe psychology, and all those things just fell out of I didn't want to study them. I'm interested in all those, but I didn't want to study them. I didn't want to write an APA format for psychology, and I didn't want to, spend, 100 hours a week working as a, grunt in a law firm my first few years or anything like that. So film, I have always been interested in. I love watching movies. I, in high school, started loving movies as art and not just entertainment. And I was kind of resistant to the idea of studying film because it's film, I don't know. It's just, there's a stigma surrounding the idea of studying it. And, but I just knew that I need to do, if I was going to try in school, I need to do something I was interested in and wanted to be doing. And so I just said, well, that's it then. That's the only option left. So I better just do that. Yeah.
That's super cool. So how does the film program work? Is there an application process? How big is it?
Yeah, there is an application process. There are probably around 200 students in it at a time. And you get in and kind of pick a sort of area of film that you want to study. And the main ones are producing, directing, cinematography, editing. I'd say those are kind of the main, and writing as well, screenwriting. Those are the main kind of paths that you can take through the major.
Gotcha. So what is, because I know like directing, writing, editing, what is kind of the main focus of cinematography and producing? Like what skills do you need to have to pursue those?
So for cinematography, uh, best thing you can have is just an eye for beauty, an eye for framing, um, for lighting and color and certain things like that. Because it's all about specifically how you're telling the story visually, what choices you're making with camera movement and and lighting to communicate the vision of the director or director and producer. And then as a producer, you need to be like super organized. I don't think I could ever be a producer. I just feel like I'm not quite, I'm a little bit too, ADHD brained, ADHD coded, to do that, I think. But you need to just, like, there's so many things you need to have a grasp on and be thinking about, and everything from overseeing the acquisition of locations to casting to budget. That's probably one of the biggest parts of producing, and you're kind of the representative of the film as well, to groups that you're renting locations from, or it's a lot. Producing's a lot. Major respect to the producers of the world, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I had one of the ad lab students on the podcast. His name's Jack Dearden.
Okay.
Awesome guy. And he invited me to one of his shoots. He's like finishing up his portfolio. He's about to graduate from the program. And it was the first shoot I've been to, like, ever. I didn't realize how many moving pieces there are in like a 30-second advertisement.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's insane,
he went out like looking for locations. He found this like super cool like Chinese restaurant that they just like let them shoot in for the day. There was like 30 people there, like art directors, like copywriters, content people, and just like so many moving pieces. And like they had to buy food for everyone that was there, and just like I feel like people just in general don't realize how much effort and like difficulty there is to just like putting together, things in the film and like advertising industry.
Yeah. It's insane. It is truly, like, once you gain that inside look, you never see the creation of ads or of films the same ever again. It's like everyone gets together and like builds this giant like crooked tower, and you got to keep it from falling over for 30 seconds while you get a shot. And it's crazy how many moving parts and how easy it is to mess up as well. Like, one person talks during a super expensive, only one chance to get this take, and it's I mean, there are ways you can fix it in post-production, but yeah, I don't know, it can be crazy.
Yeah, no, it's true. So it was cool to get like the inside look and just start to understand, just the creation behind like the things that we see every single day.
Yeah.
So you applied to the program, obviously you got in. Do people generally like graduate within like a certain amount of like semesters and stuff like that, or is it kind of like varied?
It varies quite a bit. I know some people take their time to get through the program just because there are so many great resources that we have at our disposal, especially as far as equipment. And like, we have a super nice editing bay and sound recording bay, or like, I think they call it the pocket or the bunker or something like that. A little room with really nice computers, and then we have, I don't even know how many dollars in equipment, but like the camera that we use to shoot our sort of capstone films it's like a professional grade cinema camera. I think they use it on 1917 to shoot 1917. So and it's like, I don't know, $100,000, $80,000, something crazy like that. So people will take their time to be able to use that equipment for as long as possible, because once you graduate, you got to rent it, and it is expensive. So, and then the faculty's great. They're just so amazing, and they're a great resource to have as well. I formed some really great lasting relationships there with not only the faculty but also students. It's a really great community to be a part of, and definitely. I got out got out, makes it sound like I'm trying to escape. Graduated in 4 years from BYU from the start to the end. Kind of wish I'd taken a little bit more time just for those reasons.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's interesting in kind of, disciplines like film, advertising, is like kind of the more creative space, is there's definitely kind of like a movement to like just learn it on YouTube and like not go through the university route.
Yeah.
And I think you bring up two really good points, like the equipment and like resources that are available to you, but also just like the networking that like you can do at BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even specifically in just film, like just the people that you meet in like your GE classes and stuff like that, like people that attend BYU are going to be successful. And like it's really beneficial to have like those connections coming out of college, I would say. Yeah,
there are so many driven people here. There's so much motivation. It's definitely contagious to be around. Especially like I struggle, just finding the motivation to brush my teeth in the morning or whatever. Yeah. Actually, no, I love brushing my teeth.
Oh, good.
I love having a clean mouth,
Yeah.
But it's true. It's true. There are a lot of just destined for, wealth and success people here who are great to know, great to be around. Having graduated, I miss so much the just the
community,
kind of, the infectious energy of like an academic community. It's so much fun to be a part of.
Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like going through the film program is pretty like hands-on, like they kind of let you like just create?
Yes, for sure. At least if you want to learn anything, you gotta create. You gotta get into classes where you will be making stuff, or else you're just not gonna learn anything at all. And the best thing to do for anyone is to just get a camera, get 3 or 4 people together, and just make something. Yeah, it is hard. It took me a while to figure out where to start with that sort of thing, because I just had no idea before entering the program. So, a lot of people just have a knack for it. I didn't initially. But once I got the hang of the production process and what needs to happen and what the kind of essential parts of a production are, I just, like, my growth and my learning was just exponential growth from there. It's just so important to be hands-on for sure with an education in something like film.
I'm curious, like, do you think upon starting, like, I guess I'm trying to figure out like how to phrase this, because like I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, is there like equipment that you would recommend for someone that's like wanting to get started? Like, is there like a good like beginner camera, or do you feel like it's not really that important, like just start making stuff and then with time you'll figure it out?
Honestly, it's like, it really doesn't matter what camera you use. It just kind of, the operator is more important than the equipment itself, I'd say. it's tough to. I mean, it's tough to make stuff happen with you know, less expensive lights, or if you're just using like a floor lamp or something like that
Yeah.
instead of an actual, you know, LED panel or something like that. It can be tough, but there are workarounds. You know, there are plenty of ways to just figure it out. And there are beginner cameras out there, but it's really just more important that you operate it well. I mean, the new iPhone has crazy camera and
It's
photography
true.
and videography ability, and I'm sure we're gonna see films shot on the new iPhone, and that's awesome. And that, like, like I said, it just really doesn't matter what camera you use.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because, like, I kind of, like, find myself in the same boat of, like, you entering the film program. It's like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
what to use. And, like, this podcast has honestly been great because, like, I've just slowly, like, learned, like, lighting a little bit and, like, how to use Premiere and just, like, random stuff like that. And, like, I feel like just starting has helped me, like, gain confidence in myself and, like, see, like, okay, this, like, actually isn't impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So-
so easy to get overwhelmed, especially when everyone around you seems to know exactly what they're doing.
Been doing it their whole lives.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah. Like people that I got into the program with were shooting movies from 8 years old or whatever.
It's crazy.
Steven Spielberg was shooting movies on a film camera, you know, not just an easy digital camera that we have now, but a film camera as a child, you know.
Yeah.
So to try and enter a field with that is saturated with people like that is super intimidating. But yeah, once you just get started, it becomes so much easier.
Yeah. And good on you for just pursuing it and making it happen.
Well, we're still trying to make it happen here, but yeah, it's been great so far. Love it.
No, yeah, that's awesome. And you, kind of the culmination of your time in the film program is your short film, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, my last semester of college, I worked on a short film called En Tierra Ajena y Desconocida, and which translates to In a Foreign and Unknown Land. And it was written by my friend Ricky Villanueva Avalos, and it was semi-autobiographical. He moved as a kid from Mexico to the U.S. for a time, and the film itself is about a family kind of going through their first day in the U.S., in Utah specifically, and just kind of having to figure out how to deal with this new life that they have and do it as a family. And I was the cinematographer, the director of photography on the film, and it was just such a special experience to be trusted to do something like that, to operate this super expensive Arri Alexa Mini LF camera, and lead a team of, you know, the gaffer and the key grip and my assistant camera people, and work with Ricky to make this film. It was so much fun. It was so fun, and it was hard, but it was just so rewarding. We had a screening at the Vineyard Megaplex.
Okay.
In one of the bigger auditoriums there, on one of the biggest screens at the Megaplex, and it was just so cool to see my work up on a screen that size. It was so amazing, and it's experiences like that where I'm just reminded of why I chose this, because the film is so beautiful. Ricky wrote such a great script, and it's such a nice story, and to have been a part of that, just it has kept me going for a while.
That's awesome.
As I've moved into life as a graduate, and it hasn't been super easy to find film gigs. I'm, working at Petco right now to sustain myself. But looking back on things like that, is a reminder of why I did this, and the potential that my career can have in this field.
That's awesome, dude. So how was it that you and Ricky decided to work together? Were you guys just friends in the program, or did he just pitch the idea to a couple cinematographers, DPs, or?
We were in a few classes together before he pitched the script and before it was selected and before he actually needed to find a crew. So he'd seen my work and liked it enough to ask me to be his cinematographer, and I said yes. Luckily, I was going back and forth on it for a little bit. I don't even know why. I can't even remember what my hesitation was. But in the end, I'm just really glad I decided to do it, because it was such a good experience and I learned a ton. It was awesome. And working with Ricky was so fun. I love that guy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest lesson learned or takeaway from that whole process of putting together that short film?
Oh man. This is gonna sound kind of selfish or self promotional or whatever, but I think I learned a lot. But one of the most valuable things I think is just that I can do this. I feel like it was such a moment of I just gotta sink or swim here, and I swam.
That's awesome.
I was able to do it, and I'm super proud of what we did together, and the images we captured, and we've gotten into a couple festivals, we've gotten a couple awards, small ones, but still, to be recognized for your work it's amazing. It's an amazing feeling, and so. I think the most valuable thing is just the knowledge that I can make this happen if I work hard enough, and if I keep working at it, it can work out. I've got at least some skill.
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like the more I talk to students at BYU, especially in the creative space, I've mostly had advertising students on the podcast thus far, is there's just crazy imposter syndrome,
big time. That's my middle name, imposter syndrome.
You don't realize it. You see these people, do amazing things, put out amazing content, short films, ads, videos, whatever it is, and you're like, wow, these guys, they're doing it. I want to be like that. But then you talk to them, and they're experiencing the same thing. They have their own set of doubts and worries, and whatever it is. And I think it's just been cool to kind of realize that, because obviously me slowly entering this world, I'm a sophomore, I'm applying to the program, I have so much to learn, and all the people that I've had on, I super look up to. They're people that are graduating, have graduated, have put out amazing pieces of work, have a great portfolio, and they're the ones saying the same thing, oh, I didn't feel great about this, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing that has been highlighted since starting the podcast is
yeah.
Comparison. I have a friend, she always says comparison is the thief of joy, and it's the truth.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to just acknowledge that, and it definitely has helped me as I've tried to pursue stuff in the creative space.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so difficult to escape that trap of comparison. Sorry, I totally just blanked on what I was going to say. Hopefully, I'm going to just start this over. Yeah, I don't think anyone is safe from imposter syndrome, especially in a creative realm. Or if anyone is, let me know what your secret is, please. But it's at least comforting to know that we're all kind of,
Yeah.
suffering from the same issue. And I've had so many people, when I say that I'm an aspiring director or an aspiring cinematographer or screenwriter or whatever, they'll be like, no, you're not aspiring. You are that thing. You got to start thinking of yourself as that thing, as that role, and just keep working, and eventually you'll hopefully start to believe myself when I say I am a writer director. I am a cinematographer.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm curious, of the people that graduate from the film program, where do people generally end up? Do you feel like it's pretty varied? Like, people go on to, further education? Do people go straight into like the industry? Do a lot of people do freelance? Like, what do you feel like generally is where people end up upon graduating?
A lot of people will work for small ad houses or production companies here in Utah. Or small, I don't know. It varies. There are larger ones as well. They will freelance. That's what I've been doing, on ads and smaller films and larger productions that come into town. Not a lot. Some people will go to grad school. I have a couple friends who are in LA right now. One's at Chapman University, the other's at the American Film Institute. And then I have Ricky right now is actually in New York, just trying to, make it happen.
Cool.
And I have another friend who just moved to LA with his wife. They are both graduates of the film program, and are also just trying to make it happen, trying to work their way up the ladder. So it varies, but I'd say probably the majority stay here in Utah and try and freelance or work for a production company or something like that.
That's cool. What would you say are like your career aspirations? Like, where do you hope to take what you've learned? Like, where do you hope to end up in terms of, your career?
I hope to write and direct feature films. That is the goal. That's the dream right there. I would like to live in LA. I'd like to be in that environment, just collaborating with all the creatives that work there, and that live there, because it's just so saturated with creative people. And I want to be around that, but we'll see. That's fingers crossed, man.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
No, for sure. And you mentioned in your bio, one thing that you'd like to talk about is kind of the type of content that you hope to create. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. I feel like it's just, let's see, how do I say this? In the church and our religion, we talk a lot about stewardship, and like of the environment, but also of the people that you serve or that you minister to. And I think it's equally as important to be a steward over kind of your audience or of what you're putting out into the world creatively. I've seen films that have uplifted me, and I've seen some that have just made me feel dead inside.
Yeah.
And there's certainly a place for that second group of films. I can't say I haven't enjoyed films like that before, or at least parts of films like that. But personally, I want to just make stuff that will not make people feel dead inside. There have been just so many films where I've just felt so good about people, about humanity, and they're not necessarily super kind of toxically positive and ignorant of what is actually going on in the world and all the suffering and all the bad things that are happening. It's the films that incorporate both kind of evil and the darker side of humanity, and then show that there can be redemption for even the worst characters. It's stuff like that where I'm like, man, if I can make something half as good as that, I will feel extremely fulfilled. Am I allowed to like mention stuff by name?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, talk? Okay.
Go for it.
I love the show True Detective it's an HBO show.
Okay.
On Max. You can watch it there on that streaming service. And it's a detective, not true crime. It's a fictional story about a couple detectives in Louisiana solving several murder cases, and it is so gritty. It's like one of the grittiest things I've ever watched. It's very dark at times, and shows the absolute worst of humanity. Not in only the criminals, but also these detectives that like they're a couple of really flawed dudes, and it's, you know, you see some of yourself in these detectives. It's Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson are the two actors, and they're just such likable guys. I love them so much. I've loved everything that I've watched with them in it, and all the like interviews and everything that I've watched of them. They're just so great. But they're playing two very difficult people. Anyway, the show is so dark, but also not giving anything away. It is so transcendental and so beautiful at the same time. And I'll try and just keep this completely spoiler free, but it is so extremely just gorgeous in what it ends up saying about humanity and good and bad. I cannot more highly recommend that show. It's so special. And so stuff like that where it touches on or dives deeply into the darkness that there is in the world, but then redeems it or like in one way or another, the hand of God just kind of, you know, lifts the story or plucks the heroes out of darkness. Stuff like that. I'm just getting chills talking about it. It's just so beautiful. I love it so much.
That's so awesome. Is there do you feel like most of the movies, like the films or TV shows that you watch that kind of fit that criteria are in the same genre, or do you feel like it's kind of varied?
I love thrillers so much. I love crime stuff and detective stories, but I'd say most of what I consume are just I love dramas, character studies. Dramedy is, I think, the perfect genre.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Anything that is just kind of capturing a comprehensive look at humanity and the human experience, that's what I gravitate to. I love smaller scale stories, like just stuff that can happen every day or to anyone, you know. Love that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And like I mentioned to you before, you know, starting the podcast, hitting record, I started this like as kind of a way to buff up my application and just like have been loving it. And I've had a lot of like advertising kind of people in that world. I had a guy, he has his own marketing agency, and then you obviously in film, like kind of along the same line in general. Mm-hmm. But as I mentioned, I kind of want to expand it a little bit more just to cover like the BYU Provo community experience. Like, I don't know, I just feel like a lot of the content that we see on the internet about BYU or Provo or people in the church in general is just like mostly negative. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping to just like highlight things going on and like people in the community that, you know, I feel like represent well, you know, what it actually is like living here.
Yeah.
Like, what was your experience like, going through school in Provo, and like what benefits did you see, attending Brigham Young University as opposed to, another school outside of Utah or like outside of the reach of the church?
That's a great question. It's a juicy one as well. There's a lot to unpack.
Very open-ended.
I'm not at all going to pretend that that BYU and Provo do not have their flaws. There's a ton that I think repels people from BYU, from Provo, and honestly, rightfully so. Like if it's not a place where you're going to feel comfortable, then yeah, why put yourself through living here or going to school here? I think there's a lot of people in the community too that are just not as accepting as they should be. A little bit behind the times, perhaps, to put it one way, that make it hard for certain people to live here, for certain groups to live here, and that is tragic. That's just not what Christ would want, and we're supposed to be out here representing our Savior, and we need to do a better job of that here in this community. For me personally, BYU was a place for me to come and figure out where I stood with my spirituality, with my faith, with my religion, with the church. It was let me start that over. It was okay, how can I phrase this? In many ways and on many occasions and many instances, I've had to decide over and over whether I'm in or I'm out with the church. It's such a hard, by nature of this religion, it's such a difficult thing to be partially in or partially out, and meeting the people I did, being in the community that I was in film that tends to be more liberal. I just really had to figure it out. I had to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life spiritually, and I'm really glad that I came here, and that I met the mentors that I did who kind of shepherded me through that process. I don't think if I'd gone somewhere besides BYU, or that had less of a church community, I don't know where I'd be. I truthfully have no idea. It's very possible that I'd be out of the church, that I would have abandoned it by now, and I'm glad that I was forced to make that decision here. You think when you come to BYU that you're just going to be completely bolstered up, just strengthened. There's going to be no sort of spiritual challenges or doubts or questions that will arise in a place like this. Such is not at all the case, because there are so many people who are going through really difficult faith challenges and crises right now in our age group, and Provo is BYU and Provo are let me just start that all over, sorry.
No, go for it.
There are so many people in our age group going through faith crises and faith challenges right now. And Provo is a hot spot for that sort of thing. There are so many people who I've had the pleasure and privilege of associating with, who have decided it's no longer for them, or they're so many people just trying to figure it out. And so that raised questions in me about what I want for myself, and you get the entire spectrum of commitment to the church and to Mormonism here in Provo. And if I hadn't come to a place like this, I don't think I would have as deeply explored what this religion means to me. And I don't think I would have gotten to the place where I'm at now, where I'm going to just try and make it work. I'm going to try and make it work for the rest of my life, and see what happens.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, just being so open about that. I think it's true. Like, I think kind of collectively as a community, we can do better at just being open about, like, our spirituality and, like, our doubts and, like, things that are giving us difficulty and, like, where we are. Like,
yeah. If older generations, with many exceptions, certainly, could kind of, I feel like, understand how difficult it is right now for young people in the church. I think the church would become more unified, because it is becoming so difficult every year. Everything that happens in the world seems to make it more difficult to feel like this is a place of belonging for them, or everyone is kind of dealing with that right now. It's definitely not as easy as it was 30 or 40 years ago to be a member of the church, and it is a conversation that is being had so much more lately. There are so many people who are trying to create a community of people living in a nuanced space in the church, which is so good, so amazing. I don't know that many of my doubts or questions will be resolved until I can ask my heavenly parents to their faces, what the heck is going on? And if more people can understand that, the more we can address those doubts, address those questions, and just maybe not answer them definitively, but just communicate to more and more people that it's okay that you have questions like that, and we all do, or so many of us do. So many of us are wrestling with the same things that you are, and we can figure it out together.
No, yeah, for sure. And if you don't mind me asking, I'm curious, you've had your own personal faith challenges. What is it that made you decide, okay, like, this is where I want to be, and, like, I want to remain an active member in the church?
I think for myself, and I think it should be this way for everyone, which this is, I'm not saying anything groundbreaking here by saying this, but it should be personal, what you feel when you read the scriptures, read the Book of Mormon specifically, because it's something that we have exclusively, that kind of is one of the things that sets us apart from other Christian groups. For myself, I just feel very fulfilled and peaceful when I can connect with deity, and when I do that by reading the scriptures, by praying. I just feel better equipped to deal with the uncertainties of my own life, and the uncertainties that come with growing up right now, and entering adulthood right now, being an adult right now, just dealing with the world, the peace and fulfillment and just kind of subtle joy that I feel doing those things makes it worth it, even though it is still super difficult to deal with doubts and questions. The joy just somehow makes it worth it. It somehow does. If you'd asked me a year and a half ago, if it was worth it, I don't know what I would have said. It's just giving myself the grace of figuring it out and being patient with myself to figure it out. I think was just one of the best gifts I could have given myself, allowing myself to test what we've been taught about reading the scriptures and praying. I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad that I gave myself time to figure it out, because I don't know where I'd be now if I hadn't. And for me personally, this is a fulfilling spot, and I totally acknowledge and recognize that for many other people it's not. But that just comes, that is just part of the complexity of being a human and living in this world. It's just so much confusion and so many things to question, and really I've learned that people can convince themselves of absolutely anything they want to. And what I've convinced myself of or learned or felt and believe, it works for me. It's fulfilling to me.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for that. I think you articulate that very well. And I think it's true. Like, overall, like, what's important for us is to just love people and just, like, support them. But also to, like, figure it out for ourselves. So I think it's a really cool, just, like, testimony that you were able to share about, that in your experience. So thank you for that.
Thanks. Thank you.
And believe it or not, we are just about to end the episode. And something that I like doing is giving the person being interviewed an opportunity to share something, like whatever they want. That can be something along the lines of what we shared today, something that you wanted to talk about and we didn't talk about, or just something that you kind of hold, valuable. I like to give just, an opportunity to share whatever, if anything comes to mind.
I'll just say that I obviously am not perfect. I am still figuring it out. I'm still trying to work through so many things. It continues to be a journey with my faith. But I am so grateful for the medium of film and the art form of film, the films and television shows that are out there that have been created, that can help me to figure things out. Film is inspired by humanity. It's made by humans, obviously, that are imperfect and that are trying to figure their own things out. And I think it's such a amazing, beautiful, wonderful gift when someone creates something where you can detect that. You can detect that they're trying to figure something out, or they're trying to work through something through their art. And I'm so glad that I chose film as my life path, so I can work through those things myself. And I'm very excited for what the future brings with that, and what I learn about myself and what I learn about the medium. And I'm just extremely grateful for such an art form that and the community that makes it up, that makes film what it is. And I'm I'm very grateful to have studied film here in a religious setting. It just gives a different kind of flavor to it, I'd say. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the coming years, but I'm excited and I'm hopeful for, whatever the future brings.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for, your time today driving out, and just like your honesty. Like, I really appreciated just your perspective on things. I've definitely learned a lot. Hopefully the people listening will be able to, learn new things through our conversation today. But I wish you the best of luck in your Petco job and
Thank you, man.
all other career aspirations.
Thanks, Wilson.
But in all seriousness, like, just good luck with, like, your film dream. Like, go for it. Like, who's to tell you that you can't? Like,
yeah.
So,
here we go.
yeah, thanks again.
Of course, man. Appreciate you.